Hello and welcome to episode 5 of the Wooden Things and Stuff podcast. I am your host, Mike Davies of Mike's Wooden Things and Stuff. And in this episode, I sit down with Paul Klein, a woodworking teacher just up the road here in Campbell River, BC at Timberline Secondary School. And we talk about how he got into becoming a woodworking teacher at a high school, what it's been like for him to watch changes happen over the years, how he sees it going forward, and all kinds of other things about what he does there at the high school. And it's a pretty fun, interesting conversation. I really enjoyed it, and I hope you do too. First of all, once again, I would just like to thank those who support me over at patreon.com/woodenthingsandstuff for helping me out, kicking in a few bucks financially. And remind you that if you're listening to this on a podcast app, but you'd like to see it on video, it is over on my YouTube channel at youtube.com/woodenthingsandstuff, along with a couple hundred other pieces of woodworking information. So go check that out. And that's all I have to say. I just want to hop right into my convo with Mr. Klein, as he's called there at the school. Yeah. Thanks for tuning in. I hope you enjoy it. Okay, so welcome to the show, my friend Paul Klein. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing real good, Mike. Good to see you.
Good to
doing well.
It's almost like we're hanging out.
It's really only a few blocks away.
It's true. In a different time, we would actually be doing this either there or here. Totally. But so you are what is it that you're what's the program called? Is it shop? Is it wood shop? What is it that you do there at Timberline Secondary?
Here I would call it wood shop is sort of the generic name. If you wanted to get specific, I think the grade 11s and 12s take a specific, their course is called carpentry and joinery. The grade 10s, it's called woodwork. And the grade 9s, we just made up our own course and we call it Amazing Trades 9 or something like that. So we do a little walkthrough of both shops with them and give them a bunch of experiences in grade 9. Yeah.
Okay.
So I'm basically the woodwork teacher.
Right. So do you have to take it all the way through, or like if you just started, could you start in grade 10 or in grade 11 without doing all the, yeah? Oh
yeah. The kids can start anytime. Oh yeah. They can, oh, there goes my compressor.
That's the danger of,
you know how to shut it off, Steve? Yeah. Just hit that switch up on the wall. Thank you. Yeah. The compressor starts up at random times, of course, right? You never know when it needs to, refill the lines.
Well, it's giving it an atmosphere of genuine shopness.
It's the real deal.
Yeah.
We're not messing around. Yeah, no, kids can take this course anytime, and there's no prerequisites, right? So they can jump in grade 9, or they might not jump in until grade 12, whatever, and just kind of take them where they're at. If they have some skills, that's great. If they don't, kind of just assume they all, if I haven't seen them before, I just kind of assume they need to start at ground zero, sort of. Yeah.
Right. So in terms of like the introduction to making things, it doesn't matter if you're 16 or 14. Well, I guess what would it be? 15 or to 18, somewhere in there. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like 14 through 18 are kind of the kids here for the most part. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So if an 18-year-old came in and wanted to start, you could start them and do all the safety stuff. And
yeah, I actually give the kids I give them the safety spiel, obviously, every time, even if they've taken the course before, we do it again. Some of them complain. I'm like, oh, don't worry. It's easy marks for you, free marks or whatever. And they're, oh, okay, that's not bad, man.
Yeah. You've done
I have to cross all my T's and dot my I's, right?
Absolutely. I mean, there's only one machine in the shop that'll stop if you put your finger in it.
Correct. Yeah, I told them that too. We talk about that lots.
Yeah. And unfortunately, the bandsaw is the only one that I've ever touched. So it's
is that right, eh?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. You don't want to do that.
No, it was unpleasant.
For sure. Yeah.
So how did you? Let's go back in the Wayback Machine, and we'll start with like how did you start getting into making stuff? Did you become a teacher and then decide that you liked woodworking and wanted to then teach that, or were you a woodworker who got into teaching to teach woodworking, or how did that all go for you?
Not even, man. Not even. No. I always knew I guess I didn't always know I was going to become a teacher. I kind of thought it might be a good job. I thought I might end up there only because my dad was a teacher. He was a PE teacher. So I thought, and my mom actually was too. So I just thought, oh, maybe I'll be a teacher. I like kids. I like working with young people. I like talking or whatever. I don't know. I guess I kind of had a feeling, yeah, this might be a good thing to do. So after I finished high school, and I didn't take many shop classes in high school. I didn't even take woodshop in high school. I took auto shop in grade 12. I took foods, I think, in grade 12. Never drafting. I was kind of a band geek and a bit of a gym rat a little bit. So the shops weren't even really on my radar then, strangely. So I knew I wanted to be a teacher, and no one ever mentioned becoming a shop teacher. But I was going to school. I was fiddling around over in Abbotsford at the UFV, University College of the Fraser Valley at the time. And I was taking this, that, and everything. Thought I wanted to be a PE teacher like my dad. Well, I started to get into kinesiology and soon realized that the science end of things wasn't for me. Anatomy and physiology. I was like, no, this is not for me. And then I also kind of had an inkling. I realized I'm not very competitive. So I kind of thought I'm not going to be the greatest motivator if I'm not very competitive. So I thought maybe PE is not the best for me. So I sort of morphed off, and I like reading and I didn't mind writing. And I thought, oh, maybe I'll be an English teacher. And I did a bunch of English courses. And then I don't know. I just fiddled around. Back then credits were cheap and I was working part-time at restaurants and stuff too. So I just kind of kept taking courses just because I could, right? So I took geography, I took history, I took art history, I took all these different English classes, Russian literature, all these weird classes, only fun stuff. Yeah. Was kind of just spinning my wheels, not really getting anywhere, right? And meanwhile, I'd drop some courses. You'd fail a couple courses and waste your time, right? You're working and making money and stuff too. So something had to give, sort of. So anyways, I was at Starbucks this is like years after starting, maybe 5 years after starting school, right? Still no degree, nothing, right? Didn't know where I was
halfway through.
I'm just taking all these courses, farting around. And I'm in Starbucks and I talked to this guy there. He was a school liaison officer, police officer, nice guy. Can't remember his name now. And he's like, oh, hey, Paul. He knew I liked to drive old cars. I always had old cars, old Volkswagens. I had this old Rambler, 64 Rambler. Drove this thing around. So he knew I liked old cars and stuff. So he's like, hey, what are you doing? I'm like, oh, I'm going to school. What are you going to do? I don't know. Some kind of a teacher. I don't know. And he sort of saw I liked old cars. And he's like, you should be a shop teacher. I'm like, what? I never heard of that. How do you become a shop teacher? Wasn't ever on my radar. And he said, oh, go talk to my friend. He works at Abbey Senior. I can't remember his name either, but I went and talked to him. He said he went to BCIT, took this course. So I went to their open house, found out about the technology teacher education program, enrolled, and the rest is history. Yeah.
And so
worked out pretty well.
You learned woodworking through educating yourself to become a shop teacher.
Yeah, I basically had my hands-on training at BCIT, and there in that 2-year program, it's really condensed. So it's almost like 3 years of school in 2 years, because you go a little later into May and your days are packed full. There's no breaks in the day. But we learned everything from drafting, electronics, automotive, metalworking, structural stuff, plastics, cabinet making, obviously. What else was there? A bit of electronics, robotics stuff, like all these different disciplines we learned about, because you don't know where you're going to end up teaching.
Right.
And so I did all these different courses over 2 years and finished that up, and then did my year at UBC after that to become a teacher. So it was kind of in this cohort with other teachers, with all my shop people, my shop guys that I went to school with, and then other teachers too. We did our practicums and then became certified, and then went off into the world and got jobs. So my first job was actually teaching metalwork full-time at Belmont Secondary in Victoria. I was looking for a part-time job just as a substitute teacher on call. And they said, hey, you want a full-time job? And I was like, yeah, sure. In Victoria, why not? We knew we wanted to move back over to the island. So I did that for a year. That was really awesome. But again, wasn't a metal worker aside from what I learned at BCIT. And so I had a bunch of tricks up my sleeves and things I'd learned. We worked on those projects and it worked out well. And then we knew we wanted to leave Victoria, come up island, and actually ended up sort of poking around here at Timberline at the time. And the principal at the time, actually was able to put a little position together for me. He said, I can offer you it was a block of electronics, a block of art metal, and a block of maybe drafting. I can't remember. So I taught 3 out of 4 classes one semester. Next semester, I worked as a teacher on call all around the district. And then the following year, I got really lucky because the woodshop job here at Timberline opened up because the teacher then was moving up to Sayward or something. He was going to teach up there. So I ended up applying for his job, and I was kind of the qualified guy, and I got it, and I've been here ever since.
And so
that was about 15, 16 years ago.
That was going to be my question. You've been full-time woodshop teacher there for 15 years?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So there was lots of learning up front when I first started. Lots of refreshing my past learning at BCIT, but just kind of getting inundated. Lots of books, lots of YouTube, lots of practice, and yeah.
Nice. And so what have you seen over the last 15 years in terms of changes to either the students or the shop, or like how have you seen the things from where you started to now in terms of the feeling you get from being a shop teacher?
Well, things haven't happened quickly, right? Kind of slowly over time, so you don't really notice too many big changes, but I don't know. Class sizes have always been about the same. Our class sizes are pretty big, but sometimes they're bigger than others. This year we're up to about 28 at most, so that's a lot of kids.
Yeah.
The other thing that's changed a lot, obviously, is like the technology. So phones with high school students have definitely gotten in the way more in the last 5 or 8, 10 years. I can't even remember, right? It used to sort of just be iPods and stuff like that, and their headphones in, and now it's actually full-on phones. They're watching YouTube videos and movies when they're supposed to be working. So that's probably the biggest thing. Yeah. Other than that, I mean, the wood shop's the wood shop, right? We've gotten some new equipment, which is awesome, but I mean, mostly that kind of stays the same, right? So we're pretty lucky that way.
More distractions in the classroom, would you say, in terms of the
technology? More distractions for the kids, for sure, right?
Is there a way that you've found to make use of that? Like, have you ever integrated their phones into the learning, or?
I've tried, Mike. It's so crazy. Like, I actually did a master's degree, I can't remember, 5 years ago or something. And that was one of the things I really focused on, was like integrating their technology into their learning, right? Taking control of their own learning and being able to research and look it up and learn, and then take it from there and use it practically. But it's really, really hard to get them to make that connection. They don't, and I say they pretty loosely, right? Some of them might, but most of them don't have skills, or maybe I guess they just don't want to do that. They're sort of inundated with other stuff already. So it's really hard to get them to do that. Yeah. Right. I'd like to get there one day. Still working on it, but I haven't figured out an easy way to do it. So yeah, you'd think it would be easy. Like for me and you, it's like, hey, I want to learn about, learn how to make a segmented bowl on the lathe. I'm going to look it up and watch some videos and read some stuff, and then away you go and you do it, right? But for them, it's more like they still need to do the groundwork, I think, too. Yeah. So yeah,
maybe it's just that, like, for me and you, that's the way we've learned to make use of technology, is for research purposes. Like when we were growing up, that's what you went to the computer to go find out some information about something. Whereas these guys are growing up, and they've been growing up using the technology to socialize.
Yeah. Socialize and be entertained and stuff. Right. Mm-hmm. So it is a little different. Yeah. Right. Yeah. So that makes it a bit tricky, but you know what? All you have to do is you just kind of try and basically have some guidelines around the phone use and stuff like that, appropriate times, inappropriate times, and then you can sort of control it. Yeah.
Right. Hey, have you seen an increase in girls? I've often wondered if
unfortunately, not a ton. Like, I've got quite a few girls in my grade 9 class, and a couple of them said to me the other day, can we take this course again, like next year and the year after? I'm like, yeah, you can take it every year if you want. And I'd love to see you in here, and I need more girls, so keep taking it. and they were pretty excited, right? But it seems like, I get a handful of girls, but not half and half. That's for sure.
Right.
Maybe 4, maybe 6 out of like 25 or whatever. But yeah, definitely would be great to have more because they're really skilled, and they actually it's a bit of a what's it called? A bit of a broad statement, but the girls actually are a little more patient than the boys often.
Yeah.
I think sometimes the boys come with this baggage that they think they're supposed to be good at it too, and they're supposed to know how to do this stuff. And the girls have a really open mind with it, and they're a little bit maybe their ability to learn is a little easier. I don't know.
Yeah, it's unfortunate because I think there is still, I mean, even if you look at any work site that you see, like houses going up or construction projects going up, like still there's like a heavily weighted gender big imbalance, time. Right?
Yeah, big time. Yeah, I think people are more aware of it. Like, not a huge initiative at the high school level to get girls in the shop classes, but I know with the ITA, they're working hard to make girls more aware of opportunities for them, right? Which is really cool.
Yeah,
it might change in our lifetime. Who knows?
Well, I mean, because I only ask because a previous guest, the episode hasn't gone up yet, but I did an interview with a high school student in Ontario that's a fan of my show that wanted to come on and talk to me.
Oh, cool.
And she got into my show because she wanted to get into woodworking, and she was looking up on YouTube and found me and whatever. And she's actually thinking about going off to like post-secondary, like woodworking school, like an actual like tailored woodworking program.
Awesome. Yeah. Right on. That would be fantastic. Yeah, if I could hit the reset button, I probably would have done that too, I think.
Well, but then maybe you wouldn't have ended up where you ended up. And,
true. Who knows? Yeah, that's right.
So are you still loving it? Like, 15, 16 years in, do you still love going to work every day?
Yeah, surprisingly, I am, because there's always new things to learn, which is really cool. And I love like working with my hands, obviously. But I mean, when you're a teacher, you're limited on the amount of time you can spend building things, right? When kids are in here, you're not making your own projects, or you're not doing your own thing by any means. But even just coming up with new projects for the kids to do kind of gets you thinking, keeps you motivated, sort of tweaking things all the time. And then you might have a project on the back burner that you work on after school or on a weekend just to increase your depth of knowledge or learning. And so, yeah, that keeps it really fun. That keeps it really fun for sure. We've got a big CNC router, which I've been having a lot of fun with the last couple of years, trying to build my knowledge around that more so I can get the kids into using it more. But that's also really cool, right? You get new technology and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, we'll hop into the what's your favorite section of the show. What's your favorite woodworking tool? I like asking everybody all of my woodworking guests that I have on the show. I always want to know what their favorite woodworking tool is.
That's a really good question. That's a really good question, man. I'm gonna say, I gotta say the wood lathe. Probably the wood lathe.
I thought I had a feeling you were going to go there.
Yeah, there's just so much you can do with it, and it blends sort of woodwork and art together, and it's not just super structured, it's a little more open-ended. So
it's also fast. Like you can go from chunk of wood, chunk of wood to finished thing, like
totally
really quick.
Yeah. Totally. Yeah. I do really like that as well. It's pretty satisfying. Yeah. And there's lots to learn. There's so much to learn with it too.
Yeah. And it's generally, I mean, I don't know if this is, well, obviously it's not always the case, but I find that like when I screw something up on the lathe, like the entire project could be ruined, but it's not that big a deal because I don't have that much invested either in material or time.
No. Check it out. Start it again. Oh yeah. Yeah. It's super fun.
And anytime you got a spare 15 minutes, you can just go over and chuck out a pen, right?
Yeah, definitely. Easily. You bet. That doesn't take long at all. I had one kid in here our last rotation, and he probably made 20 pens. He was from Germany. Mm-hmm. So he kind of wanted to have small projects to take home. And then all of a sudden he started making these pens, and then he shows family members and, oh, make me one. So he had this big collection of pens that he made, and he'll take them back to Germany and give them away. Nice. So cool.
Yeah.
Why not? Great. Yeah. Super fun.
So how does the system work there in terms of like, the academic side versus the projects? Like, how does you come in? Obviously, you get the safety spiel, you get the like,
Yeah.
you're this is what you cannot do, and this is how to be safe, and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But then, like,
Yeah, I'll do some measurement and stuff like that, a little unit on measuring. So hopefully they can figure out fractional imperial measurement a little bit. And then pretty much it's project based and then some self evaluation. They'll go through and evaluate how well they did, what they could do differently, give themselves a mark. And then I'll kind of do the same thing and say, back it up or say that you're really close or you're off a little bit. But yeah, it's kind of one of those courses too. You don't want to make it too onerous for them and turn it into, well, definitely don't want to give them any homework.
right.
Because they'll sort of vote with their feet too, right? So hopefully they're not watching, but the kids kind of know if a course is too hard, they're not going to take it with you. They're going to head down to the art room or the computer lab or the gym or whatever, right? If you make it not a super fun, easygoing place, then yeah,
Then they're going to head across the hall to Tyler's and start making video games.
totally. Oh yeah, you betcha. Yeah, I got to watch out for that. Yeah.
So in terms of project based stuff, do you come at them with a set of like, you're going to start with this project and then move on to this project, or is it more like sort of self-directed? What do you want to make, or how do they get to?
I can't really do that. I can't really do that with them. It doesn't really work. Like I have to have a set of projects or at least 2 or 3 that they start with, right? Some really simple stuff with well laid out plans so that they can read through and figure out sort of the processes of going through using the machines in the shop, right? So you figure out the miter saw. We got to cut stock to length. Don't make it too small or it can't get through the next machines. And then head over to the jointer. Only do one face and one edge. And then go to the planer or the table saw, right? So you got all these different little steps you have to know how to do. I always tell the kids if they can make a piece of wood to a specific size and make it square, they can make just about anything.
Absolutely.
Right? So I always tell them, oh, I don't want to make that box or I don't want to make that tray. Well, hey, guess what, kids? It's not about the project. It's about the process, right? So it's all about learning these processes. You can do whatever you want someday when you have your own shop, or maybe in grade 12, even if you take a couple of courses with me and then I see that you're adept, then you can move on and you can make something else, right? But until you know these processes and how things work, you're just going to end up making firewood if you don't know.
Right. So we start
right order of things, right?
We start with what? It's like serving tray?
Yeah, we do a little serving tray. Yeah, a little serving tray with mitered corners and little handles on there, and then we'll laminate a bottom. Sometimes we throw a little we'll do on the CNC router. The kids will find a design. We'll carve it out with the CNC router, fill it with dark epoxy, sand it all down, put a dado groove in there, and then the kids will put it together, and we'll put some splines in to hold it. And then from there, sometimes we'll go off and do a small table, like a little shaker style table, sometimes with a drawer, sometimes not, depending on the student and the skill level and the desire and the time and all that, right? And we might get into making some Adirondack chairs or a jewelry box or a stool or a bench or a live edge table. Or from there, it sort of goes wherever, right?
Yeah. So in terms of where it goes from there, is that up to the individual student, or do you set out a curriculum for the course, the class of students? Or
I usually set out about 2 or 3 projects of mine that they have to make, right?
Okay.
And honestly, some of them will struggle to get all 3 done. Some of them will struggle even to get the 1 done, right? If they're really, say, if they don't show up much or they're unmotivated or they got issues or whatever, right? They might not even finish the first project. They might not even finish the serving tray. Actually, before that, we even do a really simple box too sometimes. But anyways, some of them will blast through, and then I'll let them know, I want to do this. I had some kids last rotation. Hey, I want to make an airplane. I was like, well, what do you mean an airplane? How are you going to do that? Oh, and you're going to get a block of wood and cut it out on the bandsaw. I was like, all right, sure, go for it. And it was awesome. They were great. They were super cool. Kids did a great job. It was amazing. And they had no plans. They didn't follow anything. They just went on ahead drew it on the wood and cut it, sanded it. Yeah, it turned out really well.
Okay, wooden airplane. I thought you were going to say, because there was always, when I was in school, anytime there was a course where people could like choose what they wanted to do, there were always one or two kids that were like, I want to make a hot rod, like I want to make a dragster or something.
Oh yeah,
and it's just completely unrealistic to be able to accomplish. But when you said like they want to make an airplane, I was thinking it's that kid that like thinks he's going to make a glider.
Yeah. No. I've had kids say that too. Like, hey, I can't remember what I want to make whether it's a desk with drawers or some major, dining room table. I want to make a dining room table or something. I'm like, that's pretty elaborate. We could do that maybe over the course of a full year, or you start now and maybe you finish it when you're in grade 12, but we're probably not going to be able to do that until you're at least in grade 11 or something. So sometimes you do sort of have to give them a little dose of reality. You don't want to shatter their dreams completely, but
you got to dial it back a little bit.
You got to dial it back a little bit, right? Like,
well,
and I always tell them too, if you take if you take my course for a couple years, 2-3 years, and kind of figure it out, and you're motivated, then when you're in grade 11 or 12, you could make a paddle board, you could make a skiff or something, or you could make a canoe or something big, right? But big means also expensive too. And so sometimes that slows them down. The cost of epoxy, fiberglass, all that would be you have to be pretty motivated to.
Well, you were telling me shortly after we first met, you were talking about how there was a kid in your class that brought in a giant slab of something and wanted to make a room table. And, and it was like, he was going to be using like 14 liters of epoxy or something.
Yeah. I've had that kid probably made the biggest one. Yeah. We had to scale it back a bit at first, because of course kids sometimes don't really calculate how much. It's like, I'm going to make a table this big, and here's the wood I have. So the gap's going to be whatever. And all of a sudden it was going to use up all this epoxy. It was going to be, oh man, I think we calculated it out to be over $2,000 for epoxy. So that's obviously not going to work. So we scaled it back, we shrunk it down, and brought the live edges in a bit. And I think still it ended up being about $900 of epoxy, but it turned out really well. It's just a beautiful table. So that was his own $900 worth of epoxy. His parents actually. I'm pretty sure. Yeah.
Well, wow.
Yeah.
That's
dedication. So some of them. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So how does that? I guess that goes into another thing that I want to talk about is in terms of material. Like how much do you have a budget to purchase material? I mean, we'll get into the mill later, but in terms of the supplies that the school has versus what you've got to supply yourself as a student.
Yeah. You know what? A kid can go through the whole course and not have to pay for anything really. Like they can make the tray, they can make a stool, they can make some boxes, some pens. I charge them a little bit for the pen kits, right? Just to make a little money back on that. And then if they get into bigger projects, like I'll say if they're using a big piece of live edge maple, I'll charge them a nominal fee, but it's usually not very much. Even an Adirondack chair, we'll make these really nice yellow cedar Adirondack chairs. And I was only charging them $20 for the wood for that, which is a pretty great deal, because you've seen how much sometimes those go for on Etsy or whatever. People will charge $100 or $200 for one, right? So they can go way up, and they're beautiful chairs. So yeah, for the most part, I try not to charge them too much, but if they make a big project, or if they want to use some walnut or some eastern maple or something special, especially wood, then I'll have to recoup some money.
So what do you do in terms of when that happens? Do you stock the shop with those woods and then you sell them to the students, or do you have to go and buy them special?
For the most part, I try to have it on hand. I try to have a good selection: cherry and eastern maple and black walnut. I'm running a little low right now, but I usually have enough on the racks for the kids to make a project. But then again, the kids, most of them are pretty happy just making something out of western maple or local alder as well. So.
And so is that school district money that you're going and stocking the shop with, or?
Yes. Yeah, we have a budget here. It's not very much for the amount of kids I see. I probably have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 altogether. I probably have 6 classes of about, you could be up to 28 kids, 6 times 380. Yeah, I could have like 170, 160 kids throughout the course of the year. And my budget's not very much. It's only like 2,500 or 3,000 or so. So it doesn't go super far. We're working on that with the administration a little bit to try and increase it. I know I've been talking to my colleagues at the middle schools. I think theirs is quite a bit more, and the other high schools a little more. So it's just a little discrepancy we have to work on locally. But the money doesn't go too far. Once you start buying, what did I buy? I went down, spent $100 on Saturday at Adams. I needed a new Forstner bit, $25. I needed two random orbital sander replacement pads because those get burned out pretty fast. Because sometimes it's hard to remember to put sandpaper on, right? And you start sanding just with the Velcro, right? Because sometimes it's easy to forget and get mixed up. Okay. So a couple of those. Yeah. What else did I buy? A couple tape measures at like, $5 or $10 each, box of safety glasses at $24. And yeah, it just adds up quick. All of a sudden you're just blasting through the money, right? So you do have to be careful. And that's not talking about buying epoxy. I replaced our West System epoxy at the beginning of the year. That was like $350 or something for the bigger containers of those. Yeah. So it goes by pretty quick.
And then belt sander belts and
totally
planer knife sharpening and
it can add up quickly. Yeah, it can add up really quickly. So you have to be careful. I mean, you don't want to put too much on the kids, but then, as you know, everything's getting more and more expensive all the time, so it's tricky.
How many brakes do you have to buy for the saw stop?
Fortunately, those are supplied through our health and safety guy down
that's a different budget
office. Yeah, that's a different budget. Doesn't come out of mine. So have I replaced one this year already? I think I did. What happened? Yeah, I had one go off in September. So September, October. It wasn't a finger though. No, it wasn't a finger. It was a miter gauge. I think someone had the blade in the miter gauge was adjusted the wrong way on one of those Craig. Mm-hmm. No, not Craig. It was an Incra miter gauge, and the aluminum, they had it slid or something, and they moved it to 45, and then the aluminum went into the blade and set it off right away. Yeah. So,
well, if it's a finger, it's free, right? I think they replace them for free. I think if
you are correct, because I actually did have that happen last year. I had somebody put their finger into the saw. Yeah. Wow. I had a grade 9 student, and they were really they weren't messing around. I was right there in front of them or right beside them working on the table saw with them because they're grade 9. So I'm like it's kind of one-on-one when we go through the table saw. And they I think they went to go and clear their scrap, maybe clear the scrap or something like that. And they sort of brushed it and sort of tried to brush that scrap away, right? Just to be conscientious. I better get this out of the way because it's in the way there. It shouldn't be there. Yeah. And they went and just touch it, and it just shot.
Yeah.
I was standing there, and I just couldn't believe it. I was just in shock, and they were too.
Yeah.
And we looked at their finger, and there was absolutely nothing, like not even a scratch.
No.
I have the picture on my phone somewhere because I just couldn't believe it. I had to take a picture of it. There was not even a scratch.
Wow.
So it was amazing.
This episode's brought to you by SawStop.
Exactly. Yeah. So I sent that blade off. Yeah. And I did get a replacement. Yeah. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Cool. Yeah, they call it I can't remember what they call it anyways, but there's if it has a save like that, you get a free blade or something. So.
I cannot imagine having at this point having a shop that is an instructional place.
Oh yeah,
that doesn't have a saw stop in it.
No. We were the first school in the district to get them about maybe 6 when they first came out, maybe 6 or 7 years ago. I can't even remember. But then shortly after, all the other schools got them because they're like, oh, if you got one, we can't not have them at these other shops, of course, right? So then all the schools have them.
I imagine that even like you probably would break even on like just the insurance.
I would think so. Well, or the if something happened, the lawsuit, right?
Oh yeah, okay.
Right away, liability, that would just pay for it, right? Just get it done.
Yeah.
Wow. So we're lucky. Yeah, it's really crazy.
Yeah. So what I was gonna say, what what do you do when you have to replace a saw stop? Because like I could move this one over here and
Yeah. I don't
Actually,
know if that day's going to come. I don't know what's going to happen. You probably don't have three-phase power in your house anyways, right?
What? No.
Is that what that's what you're implying, right?
No, I was implying that if you guys needed to replace your saw stop with like a newer model or something, that I could take the old one off your hands and just.
Yeah, that's what I mean. I mean, but if I was to give you if you were to buy it, the motor is three-phase power, so you wouldn't have three-phase at your home. So that you'd have to put a new motor on it. But that could be, who knows? We can figure something out, I'm sure.
We'll get it if that ever comes up. We'll get it figured out.
There we go.
So tell me how it came to be that you guys ended up with a wood miser. I don't know that we've ever talked about the story behind it, just that there is one.
Yeah, good question. When the school opened, I think around 1997 or so, the wood shop teacher at the time, his name's Doug Kearney. So he set the wood shop up. And in his wisdom, he's a convincing fellow and he's pretty smart. I guess he figured or saw the opportunity that there's a lot of raw materials around Campbell River, lots of logs. Maybe we could mill our own wood. And he was able to work that into the budget and was able to purchase it when they bought all the new equipment for the shop. That was one of the things he requested, or he was able to convince them of, and he got the wood miser.
There was no. I was part of the first ever graduating class of that high school, and there was no wood miser there.
Okay, so he must have got it. Maybe it was shortly after the school started, then, or
it must have been, because there was no giant saw milling wood in the yard when I was there.
Maybe it was in the works, and he had to wait a little longer to get the funding. I'm not exactly sure, but he was definitely responsible for coming up with it. So did you take woodshop? Was he your teacher?
I had no interest in that. I was a late bloomer in terms of the woodwork. I only got into woodworking about 5 years ago. So
yeah, isn't that funny?
Yeah. But I would certainly have remembered like a giant caged in saw that was putting beams and trees through it.
Yeah, you probably would, because you would have walked past it in the old shop. It was just behind in the college sort of compound there. So you would have seen it and heard it. But yeah, it must have been later. I could ask him the exact date, but yeah, we're pretty lucky to have it.
It's funny because when I was at that school, the shop would have been at the other end, up by the college, because I did take some like metal work up like right at the tip of one of those wings. Yes. And just out that door beside that shop was the smoke pit. Yeah. That's right. So different, eh? Yeah. I vaguely remember that or heard about it. I think when I started teaching in 2005, either it was still there or it was recently there. I can't remember. Or was it 2006 I started? Yeah. Around then anyways. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, that's completely off topic. I know, like, I guess I wouldn't have been looking for a wood miser, but it's like the way that it's currently like very, very obvious in the yard. I'm sure I would have seen it if it was there when I was there.
I think so. Yeah.
I got the impression that was like when you guys moved to the other end of the school, when that addition went on, that's when you got the wood miser. It's been there a long time.
Yeah, a long time. We had to make sure when we moved, we had to make sure that we had a space for it, like a fenced sort of concrete, smooth sort of working area for the mill. So we had to get that set up. Yeah.
And so what is it that the mill is used for? Do people does somebody just like taking down a yard tree and then you guys send somebody to go get it? Do you get donated stuff like logs to put on it? How does that go?
Yes, all of the above.
Okay.
So we'll get logs donated from the city. The city will take down some cherry trees downtown, and then the arborist down there, super nice guy. He'll say, "Hey, I got these trees for you. We'll bring them." So he'll deliver the trees or basically the logs. We just got a big donation from West Urban. They are doing a development in Willow Point, and we got a bunch of trees from the property there near Dalton. So we got a whole bunch of trees donated from them. We've got yellow cedar from Western Forest Products. So they've donated many logs to us in the last 2 years or so. Yeah, so we get donations from them. And of course, the school district will take down trees, danger trees, or trees that have to be removed on their properties, and they'll bring the trees to us too. So it's basically the grounds crew is huge. The grounds crew will, if we say there's someone wants to donate a log, they will go and pick it up either with their backhoe or however, and put it on a trailer or into a small dump truck and bring it down here to us. It's pretty amazing.
Well, see, that's
super lucky.
That's why you're not getting any budget increases, because you're getting thousands and thousands of dollars worth of wood for free from the community.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, and the other big piece of that is we have a retired shop teacher that operates the sawmill. He loves cutting wood. He loves helping out. His name is Dave Allen, and he comes in and he runs the sawmill. He does that during the day on his own time. He's retired, and he comes in the morning and cuts wood and then delivers it to all the different school shops around the district and maintains it. And yeah, it's pretty amazing.
That's great.
Yeah, so we're lucky.
I guess that answers one of my other questions, which would be that the kids don't get to go play on the sawmill.
At this time, no, it's not really part of what we do right now. In the past, it has been. I know with previous teachers like Doug, I know Doug would have the kids out there working on the sawmill. It's something I think if he wasn't doing it, I'd have to be creative, and I'd have to either bring kids out there with me or teach them how to do it. But it definitely would add a little bit of complexity with trying to be inside the shop, teaching, and being out there running the sawmill at the same time. It's be a little tricky.
I don't know. I'm picturing that being like a facet of the program. Teaching kids how to mill wood would be pretty cool.
100%. It's a super cool piece of equipment to be able to use. The kids will go out there and see it running. They will go out and help clean up. They'll move lumber around, but as far as running it themselves, not so much right now. We could totally teach them to. Yeah.
Do you know how to use it?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. I haven't used it for a few years, but there was a while there when I was using it. Quite a bit. It's pretty simple. It's pretty cool.
What would be the chances in a totally hypothetical situation that a member of the community could bring a tree or a slab that they needed resawn or something? Not speaking about anybody in particular, but like if somebody
I'm
needed.
Sure, if the school, maybe the school could share some of the wood, I'm sure it would be no problem, right?
Okay, this is good. If that ever arises,
if you hear something like that happening, there's probably something that could be worked out.
Right on.
Yeah, totally.
I ask everybody who comes on the show to give me a random recommendation. So this doesn't have to necessarily have anything to do with woodworking. It could. I did. Brad Ruff came on, and his was like a specific clamp that he likes.
Okay.
But another one of them was like a podcast that somebody listens to that they really like.
Oh, cool.
I've had somebody just talk about, actually, Lily, the high school student in Ontario, picked her favorite band and freeze-dried strawberries.
Oh, the freeze-dried strawberries are so good. We just got onto those from Costco. They're so good.
So you've had those.
Oh, yeah.
So the random recommendation, and like one of mine was like, get a new travel mug because yours is probably time to be replaced.
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, no doubt. Get yourself a good one, right?
So what's Paul Klein's random recommendation for this episode?
Oh man, you know what I'm kind of obsessing over lately is I've got this really nice espresso machine, and I got it on Facebook Marketplace, but it's an automatic, so it grinds and it doses, and I go in, it's in my office, and I just put my cup under it and I push the button, and then it gives me espresso. It's just beautiful. I just love it. I don't even use my machine at home anymore, except on the weekends. So I come to school, I fire it up, I make my coffee, I'll drink it, have another one, and it's just so nice. And I really, really enjoy it. So that's one of the things I like it. And I also like tinkering too. So I took it apart on the weekend and sort of cleaned it and had to fix something and stuff. So I do like kind of tinkering around. So that'd be one recommendation. Another one.
So we just hold on. Your first recommendation is that everybody should have an automatic espresso machine.
Anybody that likes coffee, and if you don't like coffee, you've got a real problem.
It wouldn't make sense to have one if you don't like
and
coffee.
I say life is too short for bad coffee. So this is really good coffee. And I also don't like those Keurig machines because the Keurig machines, you got all those little plastic cups and they go in the landfill. And I find those are just kind of, not that it's wasteful, but they're sort of, I don't think it makes great coffee. So this makes really, really good coffee.
Okay. And it does a single cup. And that's all you need. Yeah. You're not pouring half a pot of coffee away because you didn't drink it.
Yeah. So it basically makes an Americano. Like, so you can change the water volume. You can increase the water volume or decrease how strong you want it to be. So as you have it around in the middle, I'll hit the button twice and it'll grind up and dispense me basically a double Americano.
Okay.
Yeah. Fill up my nice travel mug. My little Yeti.
Oh, you went even high. Like, I just do the 2-pack of Contigos at Costco things, but you went full on and did the Yeti.
Yeah, I got the full on Yeti. It's actually my daughter's. Well, I have one too, but I traded hers. Hers was she had the little short sort of stocky one, and it didn't fit in her cup holders in her car. So she'd take my taller tumbler, and then I got the little one. I just use it for work, so it's perfect.
Nice. Yeah, and you were about to start with a second recommendation.
Yeah, I was just thinking of a band I like, and I really, I never get sick of listening to this band called The War on Drugs. Never get sick of listening to them. I really like them. Yeah.
I've heard the name, and I probably would, like, if they had a big song, I probably would recognize it.
Yeah, I don't even know if I can tell you their top song. I just really like them. Yeah. Okay.
War on Drugs.
There's probably other things. If I look around the room, I could probably think of something tool-wise or.
It's supposed to be one recommendation.
I know it's hard. That's hard. One is hard, right? But yeah, the first thing that came to my mind was this coffee machine. But that's
a good. I don't even know if I have one off the top of my head. I start by looking around the shop.
Yeah.
But I'm trying to think of. Oh, speaking of life's too short for. Yeah. That's what's going to do it for me. Life's too short to buy cheap meat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Like
sure, you bet.
I found you pay the extra couple dollars for the better cut of meat, the better steak, the better ribs, the better whatever, because you're already spending however much, like, you're buying a steak for $20. The $24 steak is going to be significantly better.
Oh yeah, very true.
My recommendation this week is to buy one better than what you were planning on buying when it comes to buying meat.
Totally. Yeah, totally. Yeah, cry. Yeah. What's that called? That saying is cry once, buy the best, cry once or something.
Yeah, buy once, cry once.
Yeah, buy once, cry once. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
That's what people always say about the sauce top.
yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think? I guess we're probably getting close to wrapping this up. I'm running out of things to talk about, but what is the future? What does the future look like for wood shop and industrial arts education type things? Where do you think that the future is it going more towards automation and computer operated things? Is it going where's the future going?
I think it should come into that. Like, I think we should be incorporating some programming and more design into what we do. What Tyler's doing across the hall in the hackerspace, he's doing he's doing lots of programming. He's doing more design. What I'd like to do, or where I'd like to get to in our shops anyways, is being able to take their designs and outputting it to either their 3D printers or our CNC router or our CNC plasma cutter, and be able to just get those kids not necessarily working together, but just sort of using all the technology that we have to expand what kids can do, right?
Yeah. Do you think that's a good, this is going to be a loaded question. In terms of the future of education being computer based, sort of more manufacturing centric versus like the the artisanal or whatever you want to call it, sort of handcraft, like hand cut joinery and stuff.
I don't think it can replace that. I definitely don't think it can replace it. I think the only advantage is it would give kids more opportunities to learn about that technology, right? So they would learn about it if they went off and did a trade in machining or something like that, right? Or programming, or if they went up and worked at what's that place in town where they do all the high-end machining and stuff, not CR Metal Fab, but the logging outfit north of town, and they build all those big machines. And
Timar.
Timar does a lot of that, right? I just think it'd be neat to incorporate a little, just give them more knowledge, more experience. But I think there's still a huge place for hand tools, and I'm actually trying to incorporate more hand tools into what I do, right? Cutting some dovetail joints. So I'm not doing that much of it right now. Actually, that's one thing I've kind of been focusing on is trying to simplify things a little bit. So instead of showing the new kids, like my grade 9s, let's make a box, let's make a perfect box. Everybody gets a piece of wood. Everybody joints it. Everybody planes it. And I do all the setup on the planer. Now we go to the table saw. I set up fence. All they do is push it through. Then we go over to the crosscut saw, and I tilt the blade to 45, and we use a stop. And then everybody gets 4 equal pieces, and there's no problem solving for them, right? I mean, they can screw it up still. But now what I'm trying to do is, okay, we're going to actually, so this year, our next project with my grade 9s is we're not doing miter joints like that anymore. I'm not even showing them what a stop is, because I don't want them to be able to use a stop. Not that it's cheating, but I just want them all to be able to measure, mark, hold the square properly, have a sharp pencil, scribe a nice line, and be able to cut on the crosscut saw or the crosscut sled, and cut pieces to length, right? So I'm trying to step back from making it too easy for them so that they have to do more problem solving. So I think that's still a huge thing.
And then maybe one of them comes up to you and says, "Why don't we just put something there that stops it from going any further?"
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, I think I mentioned it in the safety. I said sometimes you use a stop. That's one of my questions on the safety test. It's like, if you're cutting more than one piece of wood, make sure you use a stop. But you don't have to use a stop.
You're right. There's a million ways to do anything in this
you bet.
hobby. Yeah.
That's right.
So you talked a little bit about it earlier about how you don't end up having too much time to make your own things, but how in your own personal like hobby woodworking, how many things do you make in a year, or like how much production do you get to actually do?
I mean, not as much as I should or could.
That's not an answer. They give me.
I know. Well, I don't know what kind of number that would be, man. Like, I make gifts for people. Like, say for Christmas, I'll batch out a bunch of posters. All right. I just made my sister-in-law one of those like a tray for the tub, right? So nice piece of live edge cherry, and I sanded it all up, and it's just to sit across the tub, and you can put a book on there, candles, right? Or those kind of things, or little gift boxes for people. Sometimes I'll make some Adirondack chairs and give those away. But I'm planning on hopefully doing a kitchen at some point. So it'll be a lot more.
And see, that's the other thing. The problem with that question is that you're assigning everything a 1. You know, like I can't even really say like I do 14 projects a year, because like I do 14 pens in an afternoon if I'm churning them out for.
Right. Yeah, but you're churning them out and selling them.
You can't count a pen the same as you would count a kitchen worth of cabinets.
No. Yeah, totally. Yeah. So not as much as I would like probably a dozen. I don't know. I should do way more, but you know what? I don't.
Do you think maybe part of it is that you spend all day in a shop, so when you go home you don't want to be?
I think so, and it honestly is really hard to. Usually when I'm in here, I'll come in on the weekends. Usually one day, they're on a Saturday or Sunday, and I'll sort of get ready for my work week, like figure out what I'm going to do with the kids, or prep wood, or organize or clean. But often it's not really making stuff for me. I kind of wish it was, but Yeah.
Well, maybe this is.
It could be. Maybe
I was
one
going to
day.
say maybe this is your opportunity to realize that, and then
I
use your.
know.
Yeah.
I
Or,
know.
if you're ever calibrating the tools, why not calibrate them with some nice wood that you're making something out of?
Totally. Yes, you were totally correct. And one day I dream of having my own shop, not like this, but a nice home shop, anyways, with some woodworking equipment would be pretty sweet way to spend
So
retirement.
you don't have even like a
I,
shed worth of tools at home, or?
I have a garage, like more carpentry tools. So I've got circular saws and drills and jigsaws and stuff like that, but not like table saws or band
Wow.
saws or jointers, planers.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I guess I might not either if I had access to like an industrial like shop set up the way that
Yeah.
you do.
It's pretty easy to bring a piece of wood up here and
Yeah. And
get
yeah, I
something.
don't know that I would
Yeah.
bother setting up my own if I had access
No.
to like maybe
No.
the best one in town.
Yeah, if you live 5 minutes away, it's not
Yeah.
too bad. Yeah, yeah,
I get
yeah.
so there is something that I forgot that I wanted to talk about, and that is we have as a world and as a society, we're well, I was going to say we went through, but we are still going through a pretty serious situation that's changing the way that things operate. And
Yeah.
did you? I know that in class here wasn't shut down for as long as it was some places, but did you
Right.
still do woodworking courses during like when there was no in-person classes? And how was that for you?
Well, technically, the answer to that is yes, we did. Technically, yes, we did. But it was pretty difficult. So we just did it through our platform teams, and I'd have assignments, but they weren't too onerous. They definitely weren't daily. There'd be like one assignment a week. Okay, folks, go and find examples in your home of a tool that would cut, right? So it could be anything from a knife, an axe, or some sort of a jigsaw, whatever, anything you have. Give me 5 different tools and then tell me what they do or something like that, right? Or tree identification, go out in the forest and look at trees and tell me what you see. Or you
That's
try to
cool.
make, yeah, you kind of tried to be creative, right? It was pretty tricky. Or watch this video on how plywood is made and then answer these questions. Like watch this YouTube video on how plywood's made and then answer these questions.
Right.
Yeah, that kind of thing, right?
So
So definitely
there was no practical making of anything.
no. I had a funny cartoon comic strip or something that I put on somewhere, and it was like some neighbor kids. Yeah, we can't go to school right now, so we want to use your shop. It's like one of the kids were going to the neighbor, old man, and saying they wanted to use his table saw or something like that.
Yeah.
He was kind of looking flabbergasted at them, but yeah, no, it couldn't really. It's hard to do practical things. I did have a couple kids say, "Oh, my mom and dad want me to build a garden bed, so or my dad and I, or my mom and I are going to work on this project together." Yeah.
Okay.
But,
And so I guess that's what when I was talking to Lily about theirs. I mean, they've gone in and out, I think, of lockdown more times. So they've kind of had to do.
Yeah. That's in Ontario.
Go further with, in Ontario. So,
yeah.
so they got to the point where like Lily would have to zoom in with do what we're doing right now. And she would have to tell him what to do. And he would go around the shop and do it. So she would like say, okay, so go to the material rack, pick down a piece of 4/4 cherry. And he would go do that. And then,
wow.
So she would like walk him through the,
oh my goodness. How would you do that for 25 kids? That sounds like it would be tough.
right.
Wow.
Yeah. So I was like, I just was interested to hear from your perspective because you were only studentless for what, 8 months? It was like March 2020 to January 21.
No, it wasn't that long, was it? I think it was only about 2 months, 3 months, wasn't it, Mike? Didn't we? I think we were off just in the spring. We didn't have kids. I think we went back in that following September. We went back. Our school. This was last year, right? So last year we changed our block schedule. Instead of having, we used to be 4 classes, so on a semester system, 4 classes for 2 semesters. Then when COVID happened, what was that, spring break-ish of that year, and the kids didn't come back. They didn't come back. And then June, whatever, teachers came back in June. but we didn't have students, I don't think.
No.
Yeah. And then students came back in September of like last year, and we did a 1 block a day course thing. Most schools in the province did 2, but we did 1. So to sort of eliminate how many faces we saw and all that, limit the spread, maybe.
Yeah.
We just did 1 class a day. So we did that all last year. We did 1 class for 5 weeks at a time. And then we sort of kind of liked it. So then this year we said, let's try 2 classes for 10 weeks. So that's what we're doing, mornings and afternoons right now. But there's probably a pretty good chance we're going to go back to 4 next year, because we're finding it's just a little bit too long with kids. It's a little bit too long for the teachers and too long for the kids. So right now we're 2.5 hours a day together. It's almost too much. In the shop, it's great, but most academic classes, it's like if you're doing a science or math class, it's a little bit tricky.
Yeah, I get you. I completely forgot that kids actually went back. September of 2020, because we actually kept my kid out and did the hybrid where he just went 1 day a week or whatever. And it felt like we were homeschooling. And then I just, in my head,
everyone else was too.
That's what everybody did.
Lots did do that. Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess that's not too bad. Just a few months of like go out and pick out a cherry tree and take a picture of it and whatever. Yeah, just little assignments. I mean, really in the wood shop, it's pretty tough if a kid misses class right now. Even parents will sometimes say, "Hey, sorry, my kid's not feeling well this week. Is there anything they can do?" And I'm sort of like, "Well, not really. You could watch some YouTube videos. I could send some information home, try and do the safety sheets I put online, watch these videos. But really, as far as hands-on things, there's not much I can tell them to do, because I'm not there supervising them. I don't know what tools they have at home." Well, that's what I said to Lily. I was like, when she was talking about how they were making projects, before she explained that she was actually having the instructor go do the project and just walking him through it, I was thinking, like, that's such an unrealistic expectation to have people be making things at home. Like, what you don't like, okay, so all you need is about $10,000 worth of tools in your garage, and you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I know it's definitely different, right? Like for the academic teachers were set up. They had a lot of stuff online. They could do lessons online. But it's just different for a hands-on course like this. Yeah, it's a bit different.
It would almost be cool if, I mean, budgetary constraints would obviously come into it, but if you could buy like an educator subscription to like Fine Woodworking or something. Yeah. And then you could like have them like, you know, learn how to hand cut dovetails from Christian Bexford or something, you know,
totally. That's right. Or hey, we'll have a library of tools that you can come and pick up or something, or we can drop off and then use these tools and then do this project and then give them back or something. It's probably a way you could figure something out.
I think you would have had to do something like that if you would have had to worry about it more if it would have gone on longer.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. Or they would have said, okay, woodshop's done. You're not teaching woodshop. You're going to go do this online learning or whatever. So support kids online with these online classes they're doing or something like that. They would have found another job for me, I'm sure.
No, they would have fired you.
I can't do that. Well, I guess they can.
Well, is there anything else that you want to talk about? Anything you need to get off your chest, or like other than the budget for the school district?
No,
nothing.
No,
else?
It's pretty good. I can't think of anything. No. It'd be cool. We'll have to have you in here sometime. Have a little look around when we can.
Well, what we should do is once I was going to say once the world goes back to normal, but I should come in and do an episode of the YouTube show. I'd like do a shop tour with you, and maybe go out and get Buddy-O on the mill and walk us through how he peels boards off of logs and stuff like that.
He'd love to show you too. That'd be really cool. Yeah. Great idea.
Yeah, let's do that. We'll iron out something for me. We'll probably have to do it in the after school hours, because for consent with the videography and
all
stuff
that
with
stuff.
all the kids.
Yeah, you got the kids' faces in there, right? I know. I'll just send consent forms.
No, I'm absolutely not blurring out all these kids' faces either.
No, forget it. Yeah. No.
Well, I guess that'll just do it for this one. I want to thank everybody for listening. Thanks, Mr. Paul. Do you get them to call you Paul, or are you Mr. Klein at the school?
I get them to call me Mr. Klein. I'm kind of old school.
You're old school like that. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Klein, for coming on the show and giving us your perspective on things. Anybody out there in the internet world that thinks that they might have a good time talking to me on this show, and you might have interesting perspective on things or stories to share, you can email me at woodenthingsandstuff@gmail.com. Tell me a little bit about yourself, and if it sounds like I want to talk to you, then we'll get you set up and we'll bring you on. So I guess that's it for this one. Stay happy, stay healthy, stay safe. We'll see you next time. And as always, thanks for watching / listening, because this is on YouTube and on your favorite audio podcast app. So thanks, Paul. We'll see you.
You're welcome. Okay, Mike. See you later.